Hey everyone, welcome to my latest update of my Mediavine Journey case study. In this video, I'll provide an update of how my Journey site's been doing for the month of June 2024. Basically, I'll go through the site's performance, how much it earned, and talk about some of the new features that are actually pretty exciting that Mediavine's starting to implement that are standard with Mediavine sites, but are brand new for sites that are on Journey. So now I'll just give you a little bit of background about the site. So it still has over 500 posts. So the traffic is coming into a pretty diverse range of pages. There's not like a single page that's driving all the traffic, basically. All the content is long form and all the images are original, meaning they're usually an infographic that I create or their original photography. The site's less than 1 year old. Uh, I started posting kind of very aggressively starting at the beginning of the year, I believe. I forget when the site was actually registered, but it wasn't too far before then. And this was a fresh domain. And 76% still, roughly, is tier one traffic that comes from organic search. This percentage has remained the same. I no longer get most of my traffic from Google as the site was hit very much in the March 2024 update. But despite being hit, the site's traffic has actually basically, even though initially dipped, it's basically recovered because I've now been seeing surging Bing traffic of all things. And as many of you know, Bing traffic tends to have a little older demographic and it tends to skew a little higher RPM wise. But I'll go into some of those details here and show you that. So this is a screenshot of my Google Search Console account for this site. As you can see, it got roughly 15,000 sessions in June of 2024. So it's still basically above the stated sort of not hard, but soft minimum of 10,000 sessions that you typically need for Journey. But it hasn't reached either the 25,000 or 50,000 session threshold that you would need, depending on the level of your existing sites already in Mediavine. So it's still somewhere in between there. At this rate, I'm thinking it'll probably take a while to get to 50,000, but you never know. I didn't expect Bing to pick up this quickly, so I'm planning some new stuff, hoping to capitalize on that. As you can see, it's roughly 7 or 8% down from the previous month, which really isn't that much. Basically, as you can see, the traffic was actually kind of remarkably consistent. So this site, I would say, has done really well. I love the new consistency. It was a big bummer to lose the Google traffic, but finding the Bing traffic was the best thing ever. It's so consistent. I mean, I don't even have like clear weekly ebb and flows in there. Normally I can tell you based on the curve, exactly what day of the week, that was looking at the month of data. But I can't because it's relatively even. So I think that's actually pretty impressive. But it is down a few percentage points. This page shows the traffic acquisition specifically for organic search traffic for this website. As you can see, the top performing search engine was Bing with almost 8,000 sessions, followed by DuckDuckGo with a little over 2,000, followed by Yahoo with about 1.5 thousand, and in fourth is Google with about half of Yahoo at 754. So this just really underscores the point that yes, you can give up on organic search if your traffic gets hit by a Google update, but you can also double down. That's kind of the call I made with this site. One of the things I did, I think that was smart, and it wasn't because I knew I was going to get hit. It was just something I normally do. Is I paid someone basically on Fiverr just to submit this site using like the webmaster tools that all these platforms have. I don't personally manage like the Bing webmaster tools or any of the other search engines. But once your site's in there and once you can get some pages indexed, it seems to be exponentially easier. And, the more your sites crawl, the more you'll get shown. So I think that it was, it's hard to predict what sites Bing will like. I think they tend to be, though, traditional niche sites that have really tight on page SEO. So really optimized headers, great meta descriptions, um, definitely sites that there's definitely room for lower domain authority sites. That seems to be my impression. Whereas Google seems to be singling out and targeting some of these newer sites. So I think if you have like a fast growing site that was hit, I would immediately make sure you set up a Bing Webmaster account and try to start getting some traffic there, because again, wasn't even thinking about this when the March update hit. It was just sort of serendipity that you know, that basically the traffic started growing at the same rate I was losing the Google traffic. So this is the actual earnings for the site in June of 2024. As you can see, it earned $150.25. So obviously, it's not one of my huge, sites that's earning thousands a month or having some crazy success. But that's sort of implied. I mean, it obviously, if it wouldn't be in Journey, it'd be in regular Mediavine at least if it was having crazy levels of traffic. This is about what I was kind of hoping the site would be at. I was hoping the site would get to somewhere between $100 and $200 a month. And then maybe if I did a little more work, I could get it closer to eventually like $250 a month on average. So I'm actually pretty happy with this. As noted earlier, the traffic actually decreased from the previous month, but the earnings went up. And that's basically the RPM and the number of ad impressions per page basically went up. So again, traffic's important, but it's not the only factor. It's how people are interacting with your content and how how many ads they're seeing per page. And, so not all traffic is created equal either. If you're obviously, if someone looks at your site with an ad blocker, you're generally not earning anything. Whereas, if someone has no settings blocking ads, and depending on their, personally identifiable data, they might, be a very valuable customer for advertisers. But you can see it ramped up pretty quickly to this level. First month really only had like one day, so that doesn't really count, but 51 cents. Then first real full month, $121. And then this month, 150. So as like a small site and as a side project, I think this is actually great. I have probably like maybe 12 of these, 12 that are about this size or approaching it. So that are like a little short of probably getting accepted to Journey, but are almost there. So this would be a big deal if I could get all those on their earning. I no longer have to wait for one of them to hit 50,000 sessions for regular Mediavine, or 100,000 page views for or Raptive. So it's yeah, definitely, I think, been a very positive experience in terms of earnings on the site. And to be honest, the site doesn't look that different. The ads with Journey are pretty minimal. I would say you can check out the previous video I did in this series where I actually showed you some examples of sites running the ads. But they're less dense than the ads on my full Mediavine site. Here's a screenshot of the main Grow Analytics dashboard. you obviously already saw the traffic on the back end through Google Analytics, but here's where you can see both the current earnings, which you can see it's roughly keeping pace with the earnings as of a few days ago. It's last 30 days are about $146. So it's almost at that 150 mark. And you can see that the RPM is roughly $12. So this is definitely lower than most of my sites, but I don't think that's really Mediavine or Journey's like fault. This was a niche that I knew had much lower potential, just because it didn't have all these sort of traditionally high paying, very commercial, intent specific topics. So this was really more kind of like fun and, just like a random kind of topic. So, if I would say this is probably the bottom end of what people are seeing on Journey. But even then, that's pretty good still, because I have sites still on AdSense that I haven't added to Journey because they haven't got in yet. And those sites are still like, RPMs are a couple dollars, like maybe $4 or $5 on some of them. So this is 2 to 4 or 5x, what I was getting on AdSense. And typically the AdSense RPMs are so low that I just don't even use it. I just have a few on there right now as a part of a separate test, but yeah, that's how low they are. So at this level, I think it makes it worthwhile having ads on your site, because ads do slow everything down, and they do probably affect the ranking and search performance on some level, whether it's directly or indirectly. But again, I like that Journey does not have a super high ad density. So I feel like the trade off is pretty good. So for $12 RPMs in this niche, I'll take it. That's actually really good. And you can see on the daily kind of earnings graph, it basically just averages around $5 a day or something like that, which makes sense. 5 times 30 is about 150. So one of the really cool things this month was Journey added basically this whole new page level analytics data. So previously, the big drawback with Journey was you basically had a very simple dashboard. It's what you saw on the previous slide. It's basically just showing you sessions, RPM, and ad impressions over time, which is really all the overall info you need. But to understand how everything's really performing, you need page level data. That's something that Mediavine in their regular program does a great job of. So I knew they were eventually going to add something like this to Journey. A lot of people were complaining at first, but that's the whole trade-off with Journey was it's, it's self-service, and by them spending, less resources to onboard you at a lower threshold, you know, so basically they're going to spend less money initially to build it out. But they actually added this feature pretty quickly. Like I said, it's only been 2-3 months. So as you can see, this is basically on another page in your Journey account under Grow, and you can see your pages, your top pages, and you can also export this data, so you can see the download CSV file, and you can basically filter by these different parameters: page views, impressions per page view, CPM, and earnings. And if not, you'll basically just see it by default. Right now, it shows you it by page views. So you can see, like, for instance, my top page is getting a disproportionate amount of traffic, not like a crazy lopsided amount out of the number of page views, which are like 17,000 or something. So this one page is probably a little under 10%. And uh, this is not the home page, interestingly. So this is just a really good article that's doing really well. But yeah, you can see then things start to drop off, but this is sorted by page views. I'll show you sort of some of the earning specific settings when you sort by that. Probably my favorite feature of this entire sort of new grow / journey dashboard is being able to filter by page earnings. So this isn't the RPM, to be clear. This is how much each page is earning basically in the last 30 days, or at least you can filter by that. You can choose yesterday, last 7 days, last 30 days, or last 90 days. But just looking at the last 30 days, this is a metric I look at on all my Mediavine sites. So it was a pretty big missing data point since I couldn't previously until this month track this. So I'm really glad Mediavine added this. This was like definitely a smart add on their part. So as you can see, that one page, not it's doing basically really well. So that one article per month generates $20. So that's really good. Generally, on like my higher RPM sites, I want articles doing about 5 plus, depending on the size of the site and a whole bunch of other factors. But for the top articles, yeah, I'd probably even want them over 10. So here, given that this is just like I said, there's not the same commercial intent behind the search, and I don't think there's the same sort of community fanaticism. People aren't going to be like scouring this, meaning there'll be less impressions per page view because people probably are not reading, the articles nearly as closely and not spending enough time on page to let all the ads load. But you can see like there's, still some of the top articles are doing, basically like $3 or $4 per month per article. That's actually pretty good. Like I said, it's all about, you have to keep this in perspective. None of these articles by themselves really is anything to write home about, except maybe that first one. But even then, I mean, $20 is still not like, it's still a small amount, but together it's the cumulative value of these. And I think this is really important to have this earnings tab and filter by it, because this is how I think of my sites. I mean, yes, it's the cumulative earnings that is what you see at the end of the month, but really each article functions totally independently. Um, some articles will be indexed in some search engines and some won't. Some will consistently get, featured snippets, others will never. So it, when I consider making changes to a site, I'm thinking about it a lot of times at the page level. So being able to see how much each article is actually making is, for me, an extremely useful metric. And like I said, major props to Mediavine for adding this functionality to their dashboard. Thanks for watching this video. If you like seeing case studies like this, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I have a couple different blogging case studies usually going at any one given time, and I'm starting to add a few other making money online sort of series tutorials. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be sure to see those. If you have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment on the video. I always do my best to answer as many as possible, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.